We are live. Hello, everybody. Can you hear us? Rob here from Westwood and Adrian on the other camera.
Hello, how's it
Shout,
going?
shout in the comments if you can hear us. There's some very familiar names in the chat right there. I'm waiting for somebody to say no, we can't hear you, or yes. There he is. Chris, hello. Hi, guys. So thanks for all joining us tonight. It's been a bonkers year for us. I thought I was ready to just curl up and die in a in a small room for Christmas. And then Adrian was like, let's do a live stream. Let's just chat to everybody at the end of the year, have a drink, uh, tap ourselves on the back and, say thanks very much to everybody. And I was like, oh, that doesn't sound like much work. Let's just do it. And then here we are. And it's taken us about 3 days to figure out actually how to get a Zoom call on YouTube. The kind of like the whole thing with Westwood is like say yes and then figure out how to do it later. So I'll just talk you through kind of like how the evening's going to run. We've got a mixture of guests from all around the world. We've got absolutely phenomenal composers. We've got YouTubers. We've got who else have we got, Adrian? Just
Who
I
hasn't?
cannot believe the people that we've got basically that
Yeah,
are agreed to come on this madness.
yeah, I mean they've been very kind to, give us some of their time. Who have we got coming up? I mean, we should know. We did post about it earlier.
We should know. I've got papers here and everything coming out of my something. We've got in a minute, we've got Ksia Tomet from London, who was one of the runners-up in the Lost Piano Scoring competition. She is absolutely amazing. We've got Henry, who's the violinist on Solo Strings Untamed, the violist on Solo Strings Untamed, and he worked his backside off on Novella Origin as well. So I hope you've all got some great questions for him because he's an absolutely top guy. We've got Fernanda Aras, who you might have seen on Instagram. She is a talent to be reckoned with. Absolutely amazing. John Meer, not the guitarist, the YouTuber. I'd rather have our John Meer than the guitarist John Meer. That's how important he is. Chris Dudley from the band Underoath. He's phenomenal. He is one of the most energetic and lively people you've ever met. So he's absolutely crazy. SHELLARD, who is an unbelievable trailer music writer, film score composer, sound designer. I don't know how he's involved with Westwood. He's been doing stuff in the background for us, beta testing and stuff since the start. And when I said, can you come on this? I kind of thought he's not got time for this. He's way too busy. He's far too, involved to do anything. And he was like, yeah, I'll be there. So hopefully he is. And then we've got Stuart Michael Thomas as well, who has got, I think he's got over 100 credits to his name. The world's best and most famous films he's worked on. So yes, unbelievable people we've got on tonight, as well as the giveaway. So for the giveaway, we had, I think, almost 400 tickets. So you've got a 1 in 400 chance at the moment of winning something. And what we're going to do is we've stuck all of those names, all of everybody that's got a ticket into a digital kind of wheel. It's completely fair. And what we're going to do throughout the night is just spin the wheel and then wish you all good luck. And then some of you will win some stuff.
But
If you didn't manage to get a ticket, go on, Adrian. I've missed something. I can tell
if
already.
haven't got a ticket in it, you can still win quite a big prize later on because we will be asking a question in the chat. So people in the chat, you do get a chance to win a pretty considerable prize, I would say. So yes, there's no, if you haven't like put your ticket in, it doesn't matter for that one. We'll give you all a
We thought we should reward the people that are here on the live stream with the best prize. So look out for that one. There's going to be a question. There's only one answer, really. I think we'll make it as fair as possible. But yes, if you carry on watching the live stream, the question at the very end will win you basically everything that we've made to date. So has anybody got any questions so far? Ruben, great to see you. Really impressed that you're on. Brian from the QTube, phenomenal to see you. Brian's been a really busy. If you don't know about the QTube, go and check them out because they're a phenomenal organization doing absolutely brilliant work for the community. Brian, I owe you a couple of pints, 100%. Nice to see you. I think we've got Cherry Sound Production. I see your name all the time. Hello. Who else have we got? David McPoland, your name comes up all the time as well. Nice to see you.
me
Who
and
else? God, there's loads of comments here.
Chris,
Andromeda
no.
8 as well. You're always popping up in the chat as well. So nice to see you. And of course, Simeon from Praise Tracks, one of the best YouTube channels in existence. Go on, go for it, Adrian.
What's going to say, Simeon? I'd like to just say thank you for the wheel idea. We saw that you do that quite a lot on your channel, and when we were thinking about what's the fairest way to give people prizes, that is one of the fairest ways. And so, yes, thanks for inspiring us on that front.
Great. So we're going to have anybody, Adrian, has anybody joined our chat yet? We hope everybody can make it. We've kind of given everybody times and just said join whenever for the people, for our guests. But we know that all of them are busy working people. And as you all know, Christmas should be a time when you're actually, you know, relaxing with your family and stuff. But often, as with all work, it kind of like ramps up at the end. So we'll see. We'll just see and hope that everybody can make it on. So has anybody got any questions, or as Adrian, have you got any questions from previous Q&As?
On me, no. I'm going to do a bit of digging in the next couple of hours to see some pretty decent questions on your video about.
Yeah, on the video, I think one guy asked, how do you like keep yourself sane when there's so much content and so much new stuff being brought out at the time? And I find that really difficult when somebody brings out something new and I'm like, that is the best thing ever. That sounds great. It's a great concept. They've got a great artist on board. And I kind of go, right, okay, well, what are we going to do to better it? And I don't know, apart from just ignoring that kind of stuff and going, no, just we're not going to listen to that. It is really difficult because you see some amazing stuff and you're like, oh, we're never going to be that good. We're never going to collaborate with somebody like that or record that much content or be that good. So that is really, really tricky. I've just spotted a question from Jeremy Brewer, another name I recognize all the time. Were the tickets only available today? No, they're available for about a week, I think, on the website. They closed at 3 p.m. GMT today, but they have been available for a few days. We sent an email out a couple of times to let people know. But Jeremy, I think if you weren't here just a second ago, we're doing a question at the end of the live stream. So if you're still here in an hour or so, we're going to do a prize that isn't ticketed, and it's the best prize as well. So hopefully one of you will win that. So
we have a few questions coming in, Rob.
Okay, are they safe? Are they savoury? Are they appropriate?
They're good. So quite a large question from the QTube. Great question from Brian. Where do you see Westwood going in 2024?
That is a great question. The roadmap's already done. I tend to start planning 6 months before the year starts, and it's kind of based on obviously the budgets we've got and how successful other things have been. So it is growing basically. Westwood, when it started, was just me. Like the very first release, I had an engineer and had an accountant, and that was about it. And then slowly over the few years, I've got now quite a dedicated small team. Adrian is kind of like the person that keeps me sane when I'm kind of like going, what are we doing? And I just zoom Adrian and go, Adrian, just give us a, slap around the face, and he does that. So Adrian's absolutely integral to Westwood. So I see it growing in terms of the size of the team. We've got another novella in the pipeline, as well as a few other exciting libraries. And the other thing that we were chatting about this yesterday is kind of being more community focused. So we're talking completely out loud now. We're thinking of doing some live events, as in person to person. I am sick of being on Zoom. Despite being here, it's kind of like quite difficult to talk to my team all around the world and then, not be with them in person. So I'd love to do more kind of like live, in-person events. So we would like to do something like that. Is that the answer you wanted?
People would be interested in coming to if we did a live event somewhere in the UK.
I mean, we are based Westwood. All the people that work are kind of like dotted all around, but we would probably end up doing it in one of the big cities in the UK, like Manchester or London, somewhere like that. But let us know if that kind of thing interests you. Even if it's just like a meetup in a pub, for a beer and a chat about, what are you doing, what are we doing, that kind of thing. That's the bare minimum that it could be, but we're also thinking potentially it could be bigger than that with more people and those kind of things. So let us know your thoughts.
We have a bunch of questions, so we'll try. Rob, this is going to be a bit of a challenge for you, but let's see if you can answer them.
I tend to waffle. Let's go for it.
Let's see if you can do it. Any plans for an untamed harp? I could answer that, not currently, but there's nothing off the table in terms
Hang on,
of...
I'm gonna go and do it now. Like, sod the live stream, I'm doing it.
But no, the Untamed series could certainly be fleshed out in some way in the years to come. Who knows? What else have we got? What are your plans for upcoming libraries? So as mentioned, we've got a novella in the pipeline, and there'll be a bunch of other things coming up next year. What else have we got here?
You guys showing at NARM in LA? No, we haven't got the money to do that kind of thing. We might go. If our wives, girlfriends, and that kind of thing go. I don't think we'd exhibit at NARM. It's not our kind of thing. I think those kind of events are for huge companies who have got like PA systems and like, products to sell. I think talking as a businessman, our money would be better invested elsewhere, but not actually going there in person and meeting people. Absolutely. If my wife gives me a few days off, then yeah, I'll be there.
We've got a couple more here. What's your process for mastering and cleaning up your samples? Do you go one sample at a time, or do you batch them? Do you high pass them? Do you phase align multiple mics? That's quite a lot of questions.
Oh, interesting. So phase aligning multiple mics happens at point of source. So Tom, shout out, I could go on about Tom for about 3 days, but Tom Oral, our engineer, his attention to detail when it comes to the recording sessions is phenomenal, and he probably spends about half an hour phase aligning mics before we've even started recording. So I don't do anything after. We check and stuff, but no, they don't get phase aligned afterwards because they're so tight to begin with. He's doing all sorts of measurements to make sure that happens. In terms of cleaning up samples, yes, they're batched, definitely, but batched within recording sessions and articulations. So it's not just here's the noise print for the entire library, just shovel 20,000 samples through it. It's kind of like these 1,000 samples have got this noise print, these 1,000 samples have got this noise print. Whenever a fader gets touched on a desk or a gain setting on a mic preamp gets changed, it's like, right, now the noise sample's different, so we need to change it.
We've got 3 people in the waiting room, Rob.
Let's do it. Let's go for it. Who have we got?
Well, we've got KEZIA's ready to come on. We've got Lex. He's here as well. KEZIA's just removed herself.
Okay.
And there is a Zoom user. I don't know who Zoom user is.
Zoom user extraordinaire, maybe. So KEZIA, I know, has got an event she's going to tonight. So if she pops on, she'll be on for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes max. That's it. So if you see her name again, jump her in real quick because I know she's really busy. But Zoom user, let's get you in and let's get Lex in as well. Let me introduce Lex before he even starts talking. So composer and sound designer of Lex, I hope you don't mind. I'm talking in front of you now. Composer and sound designer of film scores and trailers, working on the world's most successful film franchises to create incredible music to make you all keep on coming to the cinema. And very humbling to me, as surely someone this busy has no spare time. He also has done beta testing for many of our libraries. Please welcome Lex SHELLARD.
Hello, hello.
Hello, KEZIA.
Hello, nice to talk to. I've spoken to Lex a billion times on email, but never actually in person. So nice to meet you
face to face. Hello, sir. You're even more pretty in person.
Oh my goodness, don't tell me that. Somebody in one of my early YouTube videos for Westwood said I looked like a very famous Hollywood film actor, and my wife's never let me go from that conversation, so I can't remember who it was. And I was like, no way, I am not built like that guy at all. Right, let's do KEZIA, because I know KEZIA, you've got and am I saying your name right, KEZIA?
Yes, you are. Not many people get it right first time, so good.
Okay, great. I've been kind of like stewing all day on it, going, oh, I should just send a message to make sure I've got it right.
I'm sorry for my not very Christmassy background. I feel like I really let the slide down.
You've got moving lights behind you, like they're really cinematic. That's cool.
I'm in a car park, honestly. I'm just about to go into an event and I'm like, we've got to make the live stream.
No, that's really cool. Thank you. I appreciate it. And when you need to go, just go, and you can jump off.
No
So
stress.
so Kezia, we'll talk to you first because I know your time is super limited. So you're
No,
composer, producer, you're vocalist. We first met you because you were one of the runners-up of the Lost Piano scoring competition.
Yes.
And the thing that set your score apart from everybody else's was your vocals. Nobody else had really put that like superhuman touch on. And as soon as we heard it, we were like, yeah, she's in the final, like 100%. She's a great one. And you're also a member of BAFTA Connect, am I right?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Brilliant. So tell us about what have you been up to? What's your year been like? Has it been busy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a pretty pivotal year for me because I went full-time freelance earlier on this year. So I made that step, which is exciting. Yeah, thank you. And I've just been doing a lot of assisting this year. So it's been a really cool opportunity to work with some really cool composers and collaborating with a lot of other composers. And also my first feature I worked on is now finally going around the festivals, which I'm really happy about, and post-COVID, all of that. So yes, It's been a really cool year. Are
you allowed to talk about your first feature? Is it kind of like out of NDA by now? Are you ready?
No, it is being shown some places. So it's a documentary called Flight of the Swans, a really beautiful documentary with Sasha Dench, who's like the lead explorer. And when they came to me, they said they wanted a score of like hybrid orchestra electronica with vocals. I'm like, that's what I do. That's my thing.
That's you.
So really
that's what you do.
But yeah, so that's now being shown, and yeah, the team are really cool on that, and it's been great to work with some amazing people. So yeah. What
would you have done differently now you're at the back end of it? How long was the whole process? Like months, weeks, days, minutes?
It was over lockdown, so we did do some recording, but it was all kind of remote at that point. So it would be cool to do it after lockdown and have some more recording, but I was able to work with some really great remote sessionists, which was really cool. But yeah, I think what had I done differently? I think it would just be great to do it with everyone in the room.
yeah definitely. Like there's that collaboration that just it can't happen over Zoom. It's just impossible to sort of like get that feeling. I've done sort of R&D sessions for Westwood where you're trying to get like a sound from a violin over Zoom, and you're just like, oh no, I just need to talk to you.
It's so hard. Yeah.
I
was like, really I'm just going to trust you guys. I can kind of get the gist of what's coming. And I'm sure it's going to be great. And yeah.
And have you got how's BAFTA Connect been for you? I'm sure people will be sort of like interested to know. Like,
I definitely recommend
get involved in that. Like, do you just apply to it, or how's the process?
I think I'm trying to remember how I found out about it. A composer I assisted recommended me for it when it was BAFTA Crew. And then I think last year, was the first year they did it as BAFTA Connect. If you're a composer and you want to meet other people across the industry, I think it's definitely a really cool place to go, because they do networking events where you can just be in the room with other directors and producers, and I've got work from it. So, it's just great to be there and to meet other people who you wouldn't necessarily meet otherwise.
And is it just for like the year, or are you BAFTA Connect like forever now until you leave?
From what I understand, don't quote me, it's a 3-year thing. So if you apply for it, I think it's around March, April, but you can definitely sign up to their newsletter where they will send out, the application date and everything. And then, if you get on it, you're there for 3 years. And I think all they require is a couple of IMDb credits. And actually, like, I put the Swan documentary as one of mine, and it hadn't actually been released then. So even if you've got something you're like, oh, that's really cool, but it's not yet out, you can still talk to them about it and say that I've got this credit coming. So I applied for that 2 years ago, and I would definitely recommend.
Nice. Adrian, do you want to let Henry in? I think he's just messaged me saying join him in. You can't talk yet, Henry. It's not your time yet.
This will be Henry then. Here we go.
Just as a really like naive question, because I'm sure there'll be people in the chat that don't know how to do this. How do you actually get an IMDb credit? Can you just go, I worked on this film, and like you just don't have to even explain yourself, and you can just make
I
stuff up?
think most of the credits I have on IMDb, the producing team has done it for you. I think there is a way to do it after it's, if you haven't got a credit, I think there must be a way to do it, but usually it's just done for you.
Yeah,
It just
yeah.
appears.
The production team.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I didn't work on that. I don't know. It was a crap job.
I haven't had that yet,
delete,
but that would
delete.
be
I think that's like
so good.
that's definitely bitten me in the bum before. I've worked on projects and my name's been attached to it, and I'm like,
just take it.
It's a great job, and like I enjoyed working on it, but it's not my best work, and now it's at the top of my CV, and no good. Hey Henry, how you doing?
Oh,
We cannot hear you. And your camera's doing that new thing where it just zooms in on the most attractive face in the room.
Oh yeah, hello, how's it going?
Oh, you're right,
Yeah,
mate.
I don't know how to turn it off. It's very disconcerting.
It's perfect.
Do you like it? It keeps zooming on my face.
Yes, look at that.
I'm just going to leave it. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. This is really strange. I'm going to minimize that because it's very, very distracting.
So just to introduce Henry to the chat, Henry is look at this. Henry is the world's best Zoom camera operator. That's what he is. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Look at that. Multi-instrumentalist. You play like about 15 different instruments. You're a composer. You've got credits on the BBC, National Geographic. Most importantly, you were the violinist and the violist. And we're going to have a chat about violist or violaist in a minute on Solo Strings Untamed. And you were one of the most instrumental people on the whole of Origin. So welcome, Henry, to the chat.
I might see if I can turn this off because this is...
And Henry's going to spend the next hour figuring out his new work.
All right.
So Kezia, just while we've still got you, what's coming up next year? Like, have you got like a game plan, or is it just take work in as it comes, or like what's the deal?
A partial game plan. Next year there's a few projects that I've worked on and sang on that are coming out, so that will be great to finally have them out in the world. And then I've got a couple of films myself lined up, which is exciting. But yeah, game plan, just smash it, I guess.
That's the best idea. Yeah, like just go for it. I think if you go in with the right attitude, normally like good stuff happens. Amazing. Is there any questions for Kezia, either from the chat or from everybody that's on our Zoom call?
Interestingly, it went very, very quiet. Everyone was obviously really listening with intent. No. Everyone's been, if I'm honest, Rob, most people are talking about who you look like in Hollywood.
Yes. Yeah.
Some very interesting things.
No comment.
Yoda was the one I agreed with.
Yeah, I am obviously a Star Wars fan, so yeah, Yoda's good. He's the intelligent, clever one.
While
the one that lived longest as well.
Maybe it's time to do a giveaway.
Oh yeah, let's do one of those. So, do you want to do this, Adrian? I've been talking for too long.
If you want me to, right. So the first of our many giveaways is the piano bundle, which is alt piano and the electric home piano. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with the wheel on it. I'm going to press and click the wheel, and then it's completely random who wins. So are we all ready for this?
Yes, Adrian, ready. Yeah.
Here we go. Let's try this.
And if anybody on the chat's entered, like,
here we go. Can everybody see this
on the chat on the Zoom? Yeah, we can see that. I think so.
Okay, great. So I'm just.
I can see it.
And so this is for the piano bundle. Oh, drum roll.
We need to get a way better looking one for next year.
Yeah, this doesn't quite do justice.
This isn't. Yeah. It either needs to be tackier or way better.
Well done, Robert. Robert is the winner.
Can you say his surname as well? Can you have a crack at pronouncing that surname?
Elhai?
Let us know if you're in the chat. Let us know if we've absolutely butchered that name. Well done, mate. So he gets copy of alt piano and electric home piano. So we'll do another one in a little bit. KEZIA, anything you want to say? Anything you want to kind of? What's your one takeaway from this year? Like away from the film composition and all that kind of thing.
I think I also had a mentorship this year, which has been really, really great, especially as it was a bit of a transitional year going full time. And yeah, I think the importance of just a composer community around you, I think is something that I feel very thankful for. And I was just reminded of the importance of having those composers around you who can bounce off and rely on and, you know, encourage each other and support each other. And yeah, I just think that's really important. And it's just, I've been reminded of it. So yeah.
Do you think it's like quite a competitive arena? When in previous creative industries that I've been involved in, photography, filmmaking, music making, and some parts of the industry are seen as like, no, I'm not going to share any of my secrets. I'm not going to tell you which plugins I use. I'm not going to tell you which director I'm working with. And like, you know, basically a big F you if anybody tries to ask you anything. Do you get that same sense in your community, or is it much more?
I think it is a lot more open. I think it has a bit of maybe a rep of not being so much, but especially like the composers that I know, the composers that are in things like BAFTA Connect, or that if you're connecting to these people, it's because they want to be connected to you as well, you know. I don't think it is as competitive, and it's kind of sad when it is. Like, we are all able to help each other out, and surely that my entrance into the industry was through other composers, and composers kind of putting faith in me to help on projects, and then slowly I got my own work through that. So that's really been my career path, and so I'm quite passionate about like the importance of composer community and the importance of being able to help out other composers and bring people up with you. Yeah, I think it was really cool.
Yeah, the communities that I've been involved in, it's kind of helped when you've shared stuff, because if you've been busy on a gig and then somebody approaches you and like, can you do this? You're like, no, but this guy can, or this person or whatever. And then it actually shows you in quite a good light that you are connected. And then that often comes back in your favor as well, where you're like, you're not busy, but somebody else is, and they just need somebody to help. And maybe it's not your area of expertise, but at least it's work, and you're working with somebody that you like, and it works both ways, definitely.
Exactly. Yeah, we love that.
No, it's not Adam Driver or Wesley Snipes. I'm far too pale to be Wesley Snipes. Dear, can we stop chat about who might look like now? Otherwise, it's just going to swamp the chat for everybody else. Henry, should we move on to you? KEZIA, stick around for as long as you want, but when you need to go, please just, say goodbye and then enjoy your evening, whatever you're up to.
Thank you so much.
No worries at all. Right, thank you. Henry, how are you, mate?
I'm good. I just realised that KEZIA was in a car. It took me a second to work out that she was in a car.
Oh yeah. She's going places.
In the hard shoulder, just.
I'm waiting for the McDonald's to come through the window.
Yeah, exactly. The drive-through.
The most cinematic shot, I think, definitely. Like, the one. Like, what is she up to? Like, the most mysterious, enigmatic shot.
Yeah. Indeed.
So far.
Yeah, I'm enjoying your log fire.
Look at that, my iMac's on fire. That's how busy I've been working this year. Yeah.
Look at that. It does the job.
It's a 12-hour video on YouTube that I found. Yeah. I don't know how I managed to keep a fire burning for 12 hours. I assume it's like 30 minutes and it just loops. And
Yeah. That's good. I like it.
So tell me about your year. So Henry, as I've said, I found Henry. I don't know how I found you. But I was desperately looking for musicians to record for Solo Strings Untamed, and I could either find how am I going to say this without offending you, Henry? Really like world-class violin players who were so like up their own backsides because they were like, performing in the world's best shows, and all they wanted was sheet music and direction and a conductor in front of them, or I could find sort of hobbyist violinists. And Henry is this absolute, this is what we try and find at Westwood, is this absolute perfect middle ground where they are amazing players, but you can just say to them, play a D, mate, and make it sound good. And you don't have to give them a piece of paper with a D written on it on a stave.
Yeah.
So Henry was kind of like, go for it.
Are we swearing on this, or?
Yeah, I think so. Like, you know, you go for it. I mean, I can't.
I was just shit enough, just a little bit shit. That's...
It's not. No, it's not your talent. It's your attitude. What I was finding with some, because I put loads of auditions out, and like I was getting lots of players who were like, obviously their credit list was phenomenal, their talent is phenomenal, but you could just tell they weren't in the right creative mindset to go, well, here's my violin and I'm going to make some really cool sounds out of it. I don't need 5 lines and some dots to kind of like tell me what to play. And that's where you were. It was like, I can do all that if you want me to. If you give me a sheet of music, I can play it. But also like, tell me, like, sing me what sound you want, and then I'll try and make it on the violin. So Henry, there is no Westwood is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, well, that's very kind of you. I mean, I guess I was always in, you know, bands growing up and that kind of thing. And classical music was always a thing I did outside of school. I then studied music at uni, but carried on doing all of the other things that I was doing anyway. So I've kind of been in and out of studios for a while. And then I guess like post studying, working as a freelancer, you know, in studio sessions and that kind of thing, with mates. So I was already quite familiar with studios and that kind of atmosphere. And I think that unfortunately one of the necessities of learning to play something like the violin is it's so difficult that you've got to kind of, there has to be some sort of element of rigidity or some kind of process that you stick to, like learning sheet music, doing grades, and you know, doing that, and that's how you kind of grapple with the instrument. So yeah, I think some people are less comfortable going outside of that remit, and more than anything, it was just fun to mess around for a few days and make some sounds, and you know, it was cool seeing it in its infancy as well. I think, like seeing.
Yeah, because I just came to your front room and was like, Henry, play me some cool stuff that I've never heard before, and you went, what? And I was just like, right, just go for it. If I told you to play a D, and like you had to play a D like you were about to murder your dad, like what would that sound like? Yeah. See you soon. He's gone. See you soon, Kezia. Thank you very much for joining. And then you just kind of like did it. And I said, right, like now play me that same D, but like you were crying afterwards because you'd regretted that decision. Yeah. And then you were like, okay, I can do that.
I've done all those things. That was why.
Yeah. I took you on a real journey, definitely. And that was the cool stuff. And I think that's kind of stuck where I'm often in the studio telling people like, play it like this, like, and then give them an emotion or a scene. Or I think we're at the point next year where we might actually just start playing people video clips of like death and dying, and I don't know. It's dark already. It's only 6:30.
Very weird imagery for Westwood. Whenever he talks to me about what he's imagining for the libraries, it's always very dark, and I'm like, okay, I'll run with this.
I'm going to jump in. I feel like you're spoiling all the things that I was going to say, Rob, about your life.
No, jump in, go for it.
No, it's just that's roughly how I was going to describe how I used them, and you're taking all my ammo.
No, I've got plenty of ammo. I think it might be rubbing off. I've got a 5 and a 7-year, almost 8-year-old, and the 5-year-old presented me with a drawing last week that was just like red scribbles, and I was like, oh, what is it? And he was like, oh, it's blood. And I was like, well done, but no.
Don't take it to school.
Let me go and like email us to a teacher and see if I should be worried or not. But like, it's good looking blood. Well done.
Yes.
Oh dear.
Fernanda is waiting. Shall I?
Yeah, we can bring Fernanda in.
Here we go.
Don't ask me to pronounce her surname.
Pronounce her surname.
I'll let her introduce herself. Hello, you're right.
Hi, everyone.
Nice to see you. So let me just introduce Fernanda while we go, and then we'll go back to Henry. So Fernanda, what's your surname, Fernanda? Let's give it the full Brazilian accent. Go for it.
Don't worry, not even my solicitor got it right because he was drafting a contract and he got it wrong. So yeah, I don't know. It's AREIS. So in Portuguese, I would pronounce it AREIS, but here I hear people pronouncing it AREIS with that R. So yeah, Fernanda Aras, or just call me Fernanda. It's easier.
There we go. Nice. That's how you say her name, everybody. So she is a brilliant composer, videographer, photographer. You're now living in Ireland, but you come from
Brazil.
Brazil. Amazing. You will have seen Fernanda on our Instagram channel, as well as a few other successful sample library developers. I think somebody's going to snap you up sooner or later to just constantly make all of their content because she's absolutely brilliant at it. And the reason I've brought Fernanda on is she's one of those people that you've not, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but you've not been doing this long, but what you've got is just like, here I am. And like your work is so good and you put so much attention to detail on it that it's been kind of impossible to ignore you and just like, and everybody's just gone, yeah, she's great. Like, and it's a case in point where you don't have to have hundreds of credits and loads of work and all that kind of stuff for people to kind of go, she's good, let's get her involved. So that's why you're here. So welcome. We'll chat to you in a minute.
Wow,
Henry,
thank you so much.
what's been the hardest thing for you this year? I know lockdown was impossible for you a couple of years ago, but that's kind of gone now. So what's been tricky this year?
Oh, God. The hardest thing for me this year. I
mean, God's always tricky, so, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if there's one particular thing. I mean, I feel like freelancing as a musician, as a composer, as a performer is just hard. I would say
just being Henry.
Yeah, my life is difficult. Yeah, you know, it's just balancing. It's those kind of crunch weeks, you know, where you've got gigs and you've got some kind of deadline, and maybe you've got like loads of teaching that you've missed about 5 days the previous term, and you've decided to put all in 1 week, and it's all in 1 week, and that kind of stuff is difficult, I would say. But you know, I love what I do, so I'm not complaining. But
nice.
Yeah, I would say something like that.
How long have you been freelance for now? When did you go fully freelance?
Well, I suppose probably when I finished my masters. So that was 2017. So around about then. So what's that? 6 years?
Nice. So you're used to filling out tax returns.
Yes, exactly.
You've got yours done already. You can just delete all those HMRC messages.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And just kind of like, you know, add a few zeros on this year. That's what I need to do. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Me and Rob here. How long does it take to record samples for a library like Violin Untamed?
Go on, Henry. Too long.
We took ages. I mean, I don't know. My experiences with you, Rob, so I don't know compared to other library sort of sample library recording processes, but it was about 2-3 days, was it?
I think it was 3.5 days in total. I got you back for more after we realized the first ever incarnation of Violin Untamed, the improvisations part of it was like this, oh, should we do this and see if it works kind of thing. And then that ended up being the main thing that everybody gravitated towards. And I was like, shit, Henry, let's go again. And then dumped you in the studio for like a load more. So I think it was like probably 3.5 to begin with, but they're like long days. It's like 8 hours in a recording studio, like an hour to do sound check. Lunch is like 5.5 minutes, and there's I let you go to the toilet twice in 8 hours.
He has
and
a
then
toilet card.
Yeah. After that, it's just like, you
Change the floor.
You are chained to the floor. Yeah, the noise reduction is mainly removing chain noises from
Yes,
the
like shackles. Yeah. I mean, it's a long process, isn't it? I mean, I really enjoy it personally, because I think there is something quite exciting about just having I do think it is a creative goal. I mean, I know that it is just, recording the same note 6 times or whatever, more than that, 18 times or something like that. But I suppose you're trying to capture, the room. You're trying to capture what the moment of you playing that instrument, and you can never quite do that. So I suppose you just constantly, you've got the direction, and you've got a goal, and I love it. I mean, it's a great way to spend the day. I mean, it's exhausting, especially when we had the the click, the flashing click.
Yeah. But Origin were experimenting with like a visual metronome, because we were doing some of the articulations, and the gain level was so high on the microphone we could start to hear bleed in the headphones in the cans, and I was just like, we're gonna have to go to a visual metronome, and I just said sorry to everybody, and it's basically just like 1 2 3 4 on a screen in front of you, and I was like, I'll try and make this not too monotonous, but it's so hard doing that. Like
it was fine at first, and then I tried to go to sleep, and all I could see was 1 2 3 4 in your face.
Well done. Yeah, it was all worth it in the end.
It was.
Any more questions?
Yeah, Justin has. Well, I'm going to sort of paraphrase what he's written here, but what's your sort of freelance job? What's like a day in the life of Henry? How does that work?
Oh, well, it's always different. So today I was teaching for 4 hours, and then I was going to come home and do some violin practice. That didn't happen because I sat on the sofa, basically. That's what I did. But in theory, I should have practiced. So most days I practice, I suppose. That's one thing I would be doing every, 5 6 days out of the week, play my violin or viola, depending on what concerts I've got coming up. But it's pretty much different every day. So I've got 2 concerts this weekend, both in different areas of the UK. So on those days, I'll be, getting up, going over some of the notes, driving to the concert. If I've got composing to do, then I'll be in here. Usually get up quite early to do that, because my partner is a history teacher, so she gets up at the crack of dawn. So I'll sometimes get up with her, and I can work in here in the studio for a good amount of time in the morning and do writing and that kind of thing. So it really depends what deadlines I've got, what I've got doing, but it's always a balance of performing or composing or maybe even kind of arranging or some sort of something or other like that. If it's with Westwood, it might be chatting to Rob on Zoom about chord voicings, or about particular bow strokes or something. And so does that help?
Yeah,
Henry, all of the chords, the ensemble chords in Origin, Henry did all of the orchestration for that. So that's one of the only few times actually in the whole of Westwood where we actually had sheet music out, because Henry did all of the chords. He sent me all of the MP3s using what sounded like a synthesizer that the Prodigy would use. And I was like, oh, these sound a bit shit. And then when we played them in the room, I was like, oh, phew, these sound fucking great. And so he spent, I don't know how long on all of those different chord voicings, and was like, oh, we should do this as well. We should do this as well. And you had way more ideas than we had time for. That's the one thing. We never have enough time to do all of the ideas that are in my head and in somebody else's idea. Justin's just said toilet breaks in the contract. That is not happening, Justin. There is. So Henry was, you've got Henry to thank for all of the chord ensembles. Absolutely amazing. And also, me and Henry worked on a short film earlier this year.
We did. I was going to bring that up. Yeah, we you know,
Yeah.
that was fun. So doing some
Yeah, that was
things with
really
Rob
good.
and Adrian,
It was a friend of mine's a writer director down in London, and he made this amazing short film, this horror film about kind of like pedestrian suburban couples living, you know, as they do, and just like trying to fit in with the Joneses. And I got Henry. We did a remote recording session, and I was just like, Henry, write me some violin stabs that kind of like we worked on this motif for the whole film and did this kind of like it was really good. Turned out absolutely brilliant, and I couldn't have done it without you. So yeah, the rest of it was samples, and then the only live thing was Henry. So always worth getting a live player in if you can. Any more questions?
Yeah, there is another question. Henry, do you find your mood changes when you're going from a violin to a viola?
My mood changes. Yeah, I feel more sultry, more sexy, feel sexier, and
that's why I'm using your viola on everything I write.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's something very seductive about playing the piano. Yeah, I don't know if that question is meant seriously or not. But I do think that there is like a different character that you have to kind of inhabit when you pick up the viola, because it's bigger, it's darker, it's not as bright, not as resonant as the violins. You have to play it differently. You can't play it like a violin. And I think your personality does change, yeah. But then I would also say that your personality changes when you go from, let's say you're playing in a quartet, so that's 4 string instruments, so first violin, second violin, viola, and cello. You're different when you play second violin as well to when you play first violin. Because second violin is usually more of a supporting role, a bit more similar to the viola. First violin is often with the tunes and things. So you have
first violin, you need like a large head diameter. You need to have like, you know, a really big head to be a first violinist.
Big pair of gonads.
Yeah.
But yeah, so something like that.
We've got any more questions for Henry before we move on to Fernanda?
I don't think
or just
so.
any more questions in general?
There are some questions generally. One for Lex, which I imagine is quite a big question, which maybe we might park for later, Lex. It's up to you, but it's about editing trailers and like getting into composing and editing trailers, which I feel like is probably a reasonably big question to answer.
Yeah, let's save that. Can you like pen that down or something? Because that sounds like a great question, and it's like I want to know that as well. I mean, you've got to be good. You've just got to be good first, which I am not. But yeah, cool.
For us all, which is, does our day only revolve around music? Do you find time to relax? Working with Rob, I never relax.
No.
No.
Yes, I don't find time to relax.
Blank stares from everybody is just like a big fat no. If you're self-employed, run your own business, I don't think last year there was never a day where I didn't say the word origin, or at least say it in my head or write it down, where you're just like not thinking about it. So no, I play video games to relax because that's the one escapism where if I watch a film, I often find I'm like, oh, this soundtrack's good, that camera works nice, that acting's a bit shit, like, and you're taken out of it. Whereas playing a video game is so immersive, like it's really difficult to think about other things. So that's my only time to relax. That I'm playing with the kids, but yeah.
Gaming.
Everybody else is just silent. Everybody else is just, no, I've had enough for this year.
Video gaming is definitely the one. Definitely the one. If I do anything, yeah.
For The Office, I watch The Office pretty much.
Yeah.
My third time through, I think it is at the moment.
Nice. Right, should we move on to Fernanda?
Yeah, I tell you what, before we do, let's do another giveaway.
Oh yeah, okay, go for it. So what's this? The Lost bundle?
Yes, this will be the Lost bundle. So you got Lost Synth and Lost Piano. And we're going to go back to I was going to say the Wheel of Death. That's not it. It's the Wheel of Christmas. I think it's probably to be called. So I will just share my screen again, and we'll see who's gonna win this time. Here we go. So for the Lost Bundle. And click, drum roll.
Yeah, we need to make this way more like exciting next year.
Yeah.
Watching a graphic.
I could sing.
Yeah, exactly, Lex. Yeah, we need live pogo dancers.
And the winner,
Here we go, Adrian.
Salvatore Mac. Why do I get given the job of pronouncing all these lovely names? I want to say, I mean, I feel like it says macaroni, but I'm sure someone else will have a better judge at what that says. I'm sorry, I'm butchering your name.
Well done. So Salvatore wins both Lost Piano and Lost Synth. And we've got all the names that are on the wheel. We've got email addresses. So if it'll be tomorrow morning, if I'm perfectly honest, when we manage to get those emails out. So everybody that's won, and if you're not on the live stream and you're watching this later, then it doesn't matter. We'll email you anyway. So Fernanda, hello.
Hello. I actually love your background. It's so good that it seems fake.
Oh, it is. Hang on, let me just tear it down. No, it's real. Before Westwood, I used to run a film production company, so I spend more time on visuals than I do on audio. I probably spend more time making the promotional videos than actually do making the product.
The promotional videos are amazing. Like the editing is just so good.
Thanks. Don't talk about me, talk about you. So so you have got many, many hats. You are a filmmaker as well, and a music producer, composer, photographer. You are a traveler. You are I'm not going to call you an influencer because I think that takes the piss. I don't like that word, but you are influential on Instagram, let's say that.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah. It's hard because I don't know. I don't know why I just try to wear all the hats. Maybe because I'm just interested in so many things. And then I think once I have my attention to something, I won't let go of that until I'm happy enough that I know that. So with music now, I think that's what I'm doing. I'm so focused on it and trying to learn as much as I can and, get going with it. But yeah, no, it's been fun just to grow a little bit the social media. I haven't been doing much in terms of social media, but definitely that's something I'm going to focus for next year. And I have loads of projects going on with video that are kind of personal projects related to traveling. But yeah, no, it's been a year that it's been very intense. I didn't expect this year to happen the way it did, because if you don't know, basically my background is I'm a video producer and a photographer, and I'm here based in Dublin. I moved here like about 10 years ago, so I'm originally from Brazil. So I have my own video production company, and so I do loads of work for like retail brands here in Dublin, and other brands in different areas. But during the pandemic, I bought a digital piano out of curiosity and boredom, and I started learning how to play it, and then I was like, this is amazing. I want to learn more. And it was the fact as well that I was coming up with some travel related videos, and I couldn't really find songs that matched what I wanted to show. And not that the songs that were out there were bad. It's not that, it just didn't match what I wanted to sound like. So I was like, okay, how hard it will be to learn music production. Turns out it's really hard. But I think I'm a very dedicated person. So I was like focusing on learning as much as I could and watching loads of tutorials on YouTube, and then just messing around with sample libraries. And eventually early this year, I created a song called A Place of Wonder. And I decided to make a video for it, like just a reel. But I didn't really expect anything out of this. I was just doing it for fun. And then when I posted on Instagram, for my surprise, the video got a lot of engagement and views. And that's when Spitfire Audio saw it, and they were like, we want to share that on their page. And then from there, all the collaborations started. So it actually took me by surprise. I was not prepared for any of that. And then I was like, okay, now I need to be serious about music and learn as much as I can, basically.
But I think that's case in point of just like putting yourself out there. And one, it's like a really good tip for for everybody to be sort of proficient in lots of different areas. I think that's like a really useful skill, is to like, okay, so you don't need to be the world's best web designer, but you need to have a website, and there's so many tools out there that you can just make your own and present yourself well, and have a really nice email address, and be able to present your music in a way that in a visual world, like you know, if a film composer wants to get work in film composition, then their work needs to be against visuals. So yeah, 100%. Like, not that your work wouldn't have got you recognized without the visuals that you're creating, but it 100% made them more noticeable, because it was I was going through reels and I just stopped on yours and I was like, this looks beautiful, and then it sounds great as well. And the other thing that you do really well is your visuals, because it's from you as a creator and it's not two different people marrying together. It works really well because it's the same artistic brain creating both of those things together. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's not, and it's like, you know, it's easy now to get a really decent camera. I mean, the camera's the worst part of it, really. I'm selling yourself short now, because like it's really easy to get hold of a good sample library, but you still got to have a good brain and good fingers to make it work. So
but I think as well with social media today, at least for me, maybe that's something that I've been postponing, to actually post more content, because I see a lot of content out there and they're really fun, they're interesting. Then I think, well, I could do that, what other people are doing, and it could be the case that it would generate a lot of engagement, views, I could get loads of followers, whatever. But then it wouldn't feel like me. It's not me, you know. If I post something that it would be maybe too mainstream, not that this content is bad, it's not that, it's just that it's not my style, you know. So then for me, I'm trying to figure out what exactly I want to do with my social media, because I want to post content that resonates with myself, you know, that so it's true to who I am. I don't want to just post something is just for the views, you know. So I think that takes time to figure out what exactly will I share there, because it's different, you know. So I think it takes a bit more time. So, but hopefully next year I'll start posting more and figure what this content will be.
I think you've got to make work that excites you first, because if you try and make work that you think other people are going to like, you'll end up getting hired for that. And then you'll end up being always hired. Oh, because people get hired for what they show and what they're good at and what's on their reel. Often people buy with their ears or their eyes. I want that. Can you make me one of those? So if you're just making music all the time that you don't like because you think it's going to fill a niche or whatever, then you're going to get hired for that. And then in 3 years' time, you'll be like, oh, I'm effing sick of this. Like, I want to get back to the stuff that I like. And then it's really difficult to climb back up that hill to make the stuff that you want to make again.
Absolutely. Totally agree with that.
Always do what you do.
Yeah. And I think, you know, when you do something for fun and I don't know, your heart is really in it, I think people can see that and people can connect with that. And so then maybe it becomes a bit easier for you to stand out a little bit, because maybe it could be the case that everyone is doing that and they're just doing stuff for the attention, you know. So yeah, it's just my way of thinking about social media anyway.
Nice. I've just spotted a question from, where did I see it? David Siddle. Have I missed the competition results? So we're doing, just to anybody that's just joined, there are giveaways happening throughout. We've done a couple already, and these are for the tickets that you would have got on our website. There is going to be a really good one at the end, which is basically just a question. So if you're still on whenever we're up to, I think we're going to run until about 8 o'clock with the other guests that we've got. We're going to do a giveaway then. And if you're talking about the competition for the rescore or remix event that we did, that is going to be a video that I made today. We were running right up to the deadline, choosing the finalist and the runners up. So that will be a video that's published immediately. I'm going to hit live as soon as this is over. So yes, that's that. Adrian, any questions?
Yeah, Fernanda,
from the chat or from the group or?
Sorry.
Is it?
So it's from this one in the chat asking whether you are releasing an album next year.
I am, yeah, I am working on it at the moment. I have a couple of other projects happening, and it's just one of those things. How do you do all of those things and and try to release it as soon as possible? It's just so hard. And if you have to do it all by yourself, it makes it even harder. But I am working on an album now, and it's different from the stuff I have on Spotify because it's going to be more like electronic, ambient, kind of experimental style. And I am using a lot of Westwood libraries, so the Lost Synth, Lost
You
Piano, and
Correct answer.
the
Keep her on the
orange
chat, Adrian. Keep her on.
and the orange as well. But then I also got to very quickly try the home piano this week, and I was really
Oh,
impressed
okay, yeah,
with
yeah.
it. Was really impressed with it, so I'll definitely try to include that as well. But I'm using, yeah, a few sample libraries. But it's one of those things, it just took way more time than I expected to come up with an album. So I would say that it would take another 4 months for me to actually finish it and release it.
You've given yourself a deadline.
I
'Cause I always
try.
find so like the video today for just talking about the Rescore Remix competition video, I was like, I've got to make this video today. Like, let's just get it done. And I was like, it's the quickest video I've ever done. It's like in the UK, we call it Parkinson's law. It's like the time you have is the time it will take to do it. And I find on personal work, it's never done because nobody's giving you a deadline. So you're like, oh, I'm going to polish this. Oh, I don't like the snare EQ. Let's just change that. And you spend 3 days on a, what's the right cue curve setting for this snare drum, and like, give
Yeah.
yourself a deadline, put it out in the public and say, my album is going to be released on the 1st of Feb. And then you're like, fuck, I've got to do it now.
I actually try to do that with social media because then it creates a lot of pressure on me because I'm like, okay, I said to everyone that I'm going to release at this date, so I have to do it. But then when I can't meet those deadlines, it's very frustrating. I've done that a few times with, so I have a short travel film that I'm working on. It was shot on the Lofoten Islands earlier this year. And the film is beautiful. It's all edited, done, but then I was creating the song for it and I got stuck because I'm naturally an overthinker. I was just like overthinking this song so much that I just couldn't finish it. And then I had already 2 release dates for this project and I couldn't meet then. So now I'm gonna try to release it in January. Maybe it's like the 3rd time lucky kind of thing. We'll see now if that's gonna happen, but I'll definitely way more advanced now with the music than I was before, so that's a good sign. But yeah, I'll try to release the album as soon as I can, but I think it's gonna happen more in April, to be honest with you. No,
March.
not good.
I want it,
A new person into the chat,
Yeah, who have we got?
Mr. John Meer coming in.
No, we don't want him. We don't want him. I've changed my mind, John.
Yeah, I'll remove him. I've just got rid of him, so he's gone. Oh wait, oh there he is.
Oh no, you've let him in.
As we wait,
Oh my goodness, Mr. John Meer, no introduction needed.
is
John is born and raised in Dallas and is the lead composer of Merge production music. As well as this, he makes some of the most personal and amazing sounding sample libraries you've ever played. Buy his before you buy ours. And if all of this wasn't enough, John is also the best YouTuber on the planet. Please welcome everybody, the legendary Mr. John Meer.
Welcome.
Meyer.
Oh, do you
Do
hear
I
me?
get your surname pronounced? Am I saying Meyer or Mayer?
It's Meyer.
Meyer.
There's
That's
another guy
surprising.
named John Mayer,
No, we
which
don't
you
know
may or
who
may
he
not
is.
have heard of.
you must be
No, he's just some
apologize.
2-bit guitarist. We don't care about him.
Yeah.
I've got
But now, if you type in my name, you only have to scroll down like 2 pages worth before you find my video. It
Even
used
though
to
it's
be
a different
possible.
spelling.
It doesn't matter. Are you sure? Try to ask Siri anything about me, and you're going to get your body as a wonderland. There's no way around.
Is that
it.
your? Is that like a bucket list goal? It's like when you ask Siri something, she'll come up with your name as the first
Yes.
result. That's pretty.
Yes, that would be nice, but I'm not going to hold out hope for it.
So, John, tell the audience where, for those people who don't know you, give yourself an introduction, please.
Well, I think you did, and it was much better than anything I could ever give myself.
Is it correct? I'm just pulling people's intros off their own website. So if your website's wrong, then, you know.
Did I write those amazing things about myself on my website?
You wrote every single letter of that introduction. No, not quite.
Wow, what a jerk that guy is. I'm here in Dallas, or actually Carrollton, Texas. So just north of Dallas in the suburbs. I write music, I make sample libraries, I make YouTube videos. And that's my life.
That's enough. And you're a dad to how many kids?
Two boys, 13 and 8. So that's they take up, yeah. Honestly, Rob, I don't know what's going on right now. I got so much stuff. I just put one thing in front of me and try to do that thing. And then I look at the other thing. But if I look at the whole list, I get a little scared.
Nice. Yeah, your kids are in one of your sample libraries as well. Tell people about that.
Yeah. So early days of COVID, we made a little choir with the family, called it the MEYER choir. And super quick, I had them sing just a couple notes. And, you know, that's kind of when I started to learn about, you know, sampling. You can have an idea something's going to be good. You can think something's going to be bad. And you really don't know until you do it. And that was one that I thought, this sounds pretty terrible in the room. Kids were not happy about the process. You know, I try to make things look all fun, but most of the time they're yelling at me wanting to go watch YouTube. And it just turned out really nice. And it's this nice little moment of, they don't sound like that anymore. You know, I don't sound that way anymore even. So it's this little portrait of our family in the MEYER choir.
Isn't that so cool? You've got that though. You've got that kind of like, I record my kids often just as voice memos because I think that sometimes that kind of like has a better memory for me than like a video or a picture. It's just like listening to the voices is kind of like you're filling in the gaps of what they were like. So,
oh yeah, I'm so grateful to have that. You know, the whole process of everything that I'm, you know, doing now with sample libraries and YouTube was all a product of COVID. So there was a lot of bad about COVID, but for me, it turned out pretty good. It kind of shaped the next couple of years of my life. And that's certainly a nice memory to have with all of them.
What are you allowed to tell us about your plans? Anything? I know we've spoken off public forums about what you're doing. Are you allowed to say anything? Are you allowed to tell us what's happening or?
Yeah. I think I'm allowed. I hope I'm allowed. I'm just going to focus in on this a little bit more. You know, for the past couple of years, it's just been riding the wave. And, you know, I started making YouTube videos on a whim, just kept making them, made sample libraries as a way to give stuff back to people. And then that kind of became something, okay, maybe I could sell one of these and then another and another. And then finally I decided that, you know, I could either make these simple little sounds that I could do myself, start to finish, or I could work with really talented people. And through the piano book community and all that, I found some guys that are a lot better at everything that I'm terrible at. And just decided, well, let's give this a go. And so I released a few products and made the leap to do what you called an investment in NKS and contact free player support. So that was a big investment. And we're working on, got about 4 or 5 instruments in the works for next year. So I've been kind of pulling away from YouTube for a bit just to work on all of that. And I also have a production music label that I'm starting, which is kind of what I've always done for the past 10 or 15 years is write, you know, licensing music. And so 2 big things kind of are hitting at once, and I can't think straight because of it. But yeah, next year, really going to lean back into making sounds, sharing sounds, free sounds, revamping those, and then trying to kind of make my YouTube channel match up to those things. So I've been guilty of kind of going all over the place and following and I still will. I like to do crazy stuff every now and then, or it's crazy to me. It's not, can't be that crazy, but try to be a little more focused. And yeah, I'm I try to make instruments and work with people who make sounds that I like and I use, and they meet all that criteria. And that's the only criteria that I really have at this point. And so hopefully that'll translate.
I think what I like about your sample is they definitely sound like you. They sound like they've come from your person. Don's just said you are the first result in Google. I think Don needs to go into incognito mode to truly find out if you are the first.
That's good to hear.
So just tell me about, I mean, I don't need to know about it because I know all about it, but for those people who don't know this process between like getting a contact library and you can just sell it for contact full. This is a bit of a geeky question. So if anybody's bored, just say I'm bored in the chat, and then actually getting it ready for NKS player. Like I know that process very well now, or my team do at least. Like you can just shake your head and just be like, no, it's a pain, or
it's a massive pain, and it's a lot of stuff you never even think of. A lot of the graphics and just the communicating back and forth, the costs of it all. Fortunately I had some help on the scripting side, but I also got, even though it was such a big pain, I got a really nice letter from a guy who, they do a lot for the, as far as accessibility for people that, need those special features. And I got a really nice email from somebody thanking me for going to the, it's a business decision. Hopefully it opens it up to more people. Otherwise, I don't know, it wouldn't be as easy to pay that fee for each one. But I'm rambling, but getting nice emails like that and knowing that they're also doing some stuff for the community to make it easier for people that struggle with normal things that we don't struggle with as far as vision and hearing and whatever. So that was nice. But yeah, it is I've kind of blocked it out of my memory, Rob. But I got to do it all again in a couple weeks, so I better remember. I just remember it being a lot more work than I ever could have expected.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you've made the sample library, and then you've kind of gone, oh, it's gone now. I'm going to now turn it into an NKS contact player library. And you're like, oh, here's another hill that I've not got the shoes ready for to walk up. So yeah, it's exactly.
But it sure is nice. It sure is nice seeing it up there in the browser window. It makes it all worth it in the end. Up there next to, I had to push yours down, got to get it out of the way.
Just turn ours off. Just turn ours off. If you go into one of the panels, you can just unclick all the libraries you don't use. So you have to keep ours up there. What have you learned this year, apart from all that headache with NKS and stuff? What's been your kind of big learning point?
Oh, I think I've always just kind of been a one-man show for everything that I've ever done. And so I've always just taken whatever it is I could over the past 20 years that made sense to make a living. And I guess I'm realizing now that I need to lean into I need help. I got to find smart, talented people to help me with things. And I'm learning how to slowly let go, which is surprisingly difficult. Was that, I imagine you were a one-man show for a long time and now you've got some help. Was it hard to, you ever find yourself like I had somebody help me with some graphic design and I was always apologizing to her. Like, I'm going to come back and tell you that I don't like this, but I'm probably not going to have a better idea, but I'm going to be a pain. What the kind of thing that I've shared with my wife all these years, she has to hear me like going back and forth on all my ideas, but actually working with someone on a professional level when I can't make up my mind is, I feel bad for those people.
I think the one thing, so the business I used to run before Westwood was a film production company where I was creating content for other people. So I would get a brief, like, make this film for us, do whatever. And then I would go, yeah, I'm going to make this film. And now I'm on the other side of it. So that was kind of like I had, 10 clients a year and making films, making music, graphics, all the rest of it for different people. And now I've switched to a customer model where I've got thousands of customers that I sell a product to. And suddenly I'm the client asking other people to do those jobs that I used to have to do. Yeah. And now I'm like, oh, now I know how to be a good client. I found that really like I do the same. I apologize to everybody that I hope I do, Adrian, anyway. Apologize to people when I'm going, oh, I'm sorry, I really don't like this. Can we change it? I've not given you a good enough brief. Like, or I understand, just go for it, just do it. And, give me one round of revisions, or like, I trust you to do the best job possible, go for it, and hopefully it's okay. So it's been really useful to be in the client to customer business before I started this one, to kind of understand how to treat people that are my suppliers. Fernanda, I hope you agree with that at least anyway, because you're the most recent kind of like freelancer who's been outside of Westwood kind of, and I've just gone, please make some stuff for us, just do it how you kind of think, and I'll try not to hurt you too much in the process.
I think you were very good. Like, even you gave the freedom for me to be as creative as possible. So that was really good. I appreciate that.
I think when it comes to artists, it's like, just if you clamp them too much, you've either got to be like 100% like, this is exactly what I want, don't do anything else, or this is the kind of the area that you need to be in, and now just kind of go and fill your boots and do the best job possible. I have just got to go and take a comfort break for a couple of minutes. Adrian, can you filter some questions and talk amongst yourselves?
I think we're due another giveaway.
I want to do another giveaway, yeah.
I'm just like Santa today, so this is a great position to be in. So the next competition on the spinning wheel means you will win the Untamed collection, which is a personal favorite of mine, that's for sure. So anyone who's been watching this whole time will know how this works. I'm just going to share my screen to the wheel, and I've done a pretty bad job of, I think a bad job of pronouncing people's names, so I might just throw John under the bus and see if you can pronounce who wins. So here we go. Right, can everybody see the wheel? Here we go. Spinning. Oh, we're gonna get a whole orchestra in next time for these sort of build-ups, I think.
I got this one. Jared Walker.
Well done, Jared. Well done.
Good.
Your name is noted. And now I can, once I find out where everything is, I can I've got so many windows open, it's actually insane. How do I do bear with me a moment.
Well, I've just realized that if I do a thumbs up, oh, it's not doing it. Yeah, it is. There we go. Look at that.
Nice. Oh wow, that is,
yeah, how great is that?
there we go. Right, I actually have got the last two guests to come in as well. They're waiting. But I thought I would ask, this gets asked quite a lot through our socials, and I thought I could just ask you all here, what is your favorite Westwood library, and what is your favorite library regardless of company?
Who's that to? Everyone?
That's to everyone. So we'll all just go in turn. And so you've got to say your personal favorite Westwood library, of which ones you own, and your favorite library of any company. What's your like desert island virtual instrument? So should we start with, let's start with Rob. Let's throw Rob under the bus.
My favorite is probably alt piano, because that's the one that was the first one. So that was the one that was like, I'm going to record this piano. I've done some sampling before, like everybody does. Not kalimbas. I am proud to say I've never sampled a kalimba. Yeah, but it was the first like, oh, this is going to happen. Right, let's do one. And then it's just a personal reason, because I remember so like playing the first note and going, oh shit, this is it now. If this doesn't work, nothing's going to work. So yeah, piano purely, I don't think it's the best one. It is great. It's definitely got vibe and character, and there's something about it that people like, but it's not the most sophisticated library I've done, but it's the It's the best one. I'm gonna have to say something from John, obviously, because he's on the chat. So, oh my goodness, anything from John's entire collection would be on my desert island, as well as a MacBook, obviously, and a Wi-Fi connection.
Well, we'll move on to Lex. Lex, what's your favorites?
Oh man, I think from the Westwood catalogue, I'm going to have to go with all the Untamed strings in one go. I'm not going to split between them.
It's fine. It's one package now. It's fine. You can't.
Oh
you don't
yes,
have to split.
I'm still in beta testing mode. Single ones. They've got me out of like a lot of like tight deadlines. They've got me out of a lot of little corners I've been backed into where I've needed something that is. It does what it says on the tin, but also when you dig deeper, it does something a little bit more. And they've really helped me a lot, those ones. Especially when I've had to do things that they might not have been designed for, like really quite aggressive horror or kind of, and that's where they've really shone, is where I've used them and really kind of gone to town with them in a way that they might not have been designed for. And then personal, I think library I might have to skip over. I might have to go synth because I've used Serum on probably every single thing I've done.
Yeah.
Whether it's aggressive or I've made a beautiful ambient pad, I think it's in I've got like 10 instances in my template, so I think I'd probably have to go to Serum rather than a library.
Yeah, great shout. Serum is
Good
great.
answer.
Henry? Always muted. Zoom user muted.
Hello, sorry about that.
I mean, Henry just recorded his own violin stuff, so he doesn't need sample libraries. But
yeah, I just put myself in the room and it just all works. I should say the Untamed, shouldn't I? Because technically that is. I think Novella I'm really enjoying. I've actually used that recently. The alto. What was quite cool is the alto chattering.
Yeah, that was one of those sounds. I was like, it was so. I think somebody asked earlier in the chat, like, what is the sounds that you've got in your head that you want to get in the recording studio versus what are the sounds you kind of come up in the recording studio? And the chatters was one I had in my head. I was like, I'm not a singer, but I'm going to attempt to sing what this should sound like. And I just went, like, and then they went. Okay, let's do that, but make it musical. And then so I'm pleased you said that.
I had a lot of RXing that particular set of samples.
Yeah, there was a lot of if people have got misophonia, that problem with like mouth noises and stuff, there was a lot of that going on in the close mics that had to get adjusted, so to speak. So
their own like virtual instrument, just mouth declicks. That is going to be the next we release. Spoiler. And what about that's not Westwood, Henry? Got anything up your sleeve?
I might be boring and just say I don't have one. I mean, I tend to just mess around with a lot of different stuff. But I can get quite lost on just like just an orchestral, like the Spitfire, like the BBC Symphony Orchestra, something like that. I can lose a lot of time on something like that, but I don't think I've got a favorite sample. It depends what you're doing, right? I mean, I guess, so I'm going to deflate everybody's expectations. Which one is it? What is it going to be?
That is the right answer, though, isn't it? It's just like there is no right, there is no favorite. It's just whatever's right for the job.
Well, actually, no. Okay, I do have one. It's this really random. I think it's not a djembe. It's some kind of really badly sampled sort of drum, and that is I've used that so much. But I'll change it. But it's a very strange sounding thing. So yeah, I think whatever that is one of my hard drives.
Nice.
Fernanda?
That's a hard question. I think for Westwood, I'm always in between Lost Synth and Lost Piano. But I think now, because I'm using Lost Synth like a lot on my upcoming album, I would say Lost Synth. Something about it, there's some nostalgia about the sounds, and I really like that. And because I'm a big fan of kind of ambient electronic sounds. I think that really works well with my own kind of style. So yeah, I would go with Lost Synth. And I absolutely love the randomization feature that you have, that out of nowhere, if I'm not feeling inspired, just hit that button and then you just get an amazing sound. So that's really handy to have. And I think for favorite library, that's so hard. Probably one of the Oliver Arnold's library from Spitfire Audio. Don't know which now, it depends on my mood. But the chamber evolutions are really good, and the composer kit as well. But it's so hard. It just depends as well. So yeah, I don't know. I don't have a fixed answer for you now, but yeah, one of them anyway.
And John?
We're going to change it. We're going to change. Let's change this for John. So John, you've got to pick one of your own libraries and then somebody else's that isn't Westwood.
Well, I was going to say Origin. I really like it.
Don't pick ours. No, don't pick ours. Pick one of your own and anybody else's except ours.
Of my own?
Not the best sounding one, just the one that means the most, or the one that has...
Well, the first thing that I did, the flute and violin, which became Arctic Swells, Spitfire Steel, that's always going to be the most nostalgic, because I ended up doing that. That became the feathered flute, a variation of that. So that will always be something that, that was such an... I talk about no expectations. I don't play the flute and I don't play the violin, and somehow it just worked. We want to welcome.
We can welcome Chris.
Let's welcome.
I'm gonna do.
I'll be welcomed.
I'm gonna do you an intro, Chris. How about this? This is from
your fancy. All right.
Wrong, you are all to blame for this. So, a film composer and keyboard in the multi-Grammy award nominated band Underoath. He has some of the most positive, and this isn't from your website. I wrote this bit.
Okay, Chris, I was going to say that doesn't sound like me.
No. I wrote this bit. I stole some of it from your website. I wrote other bits. He has some of the most positive energy I've ever seen coming out of a person. And he was one of the first people to email me after our first ever release to tell me to keep making more. Please welcome Mr. Chris Dudley.
Howdy. See, I'm just going to take that bio and just paste it onto my site with the email me part and everything in there. I support that.
When you first emailed me, I was like, what's this guy? Like, this guy's way too famous and like talented to be emailing me, like, and it was incredible. And then we've also got Mr. Stuart Michael Thomas. Let me try and like get your entire catalog summarized into an introduction. Film composer and guitarist, working on some of the greatest films and scores and collaborating with many other amazing film composers. He has worked on Top Gun Maverick, The Dark Knight, Avengers, Age of Ultron, Furious 4, 5, and 6. We'll talk about why 6 wasn't involved in a minute. The Hunger Games. The list goes on. We're not worthy to have you as a guest. Please welcome Stuart Michael Thomas, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you too for joining us. We're going to talk to Chris. We're a little bit behind, aren't we? So let's move on to John. Did you finish your sample library question, or do you just want to move on?
Yeah, move on.
Move on. Okay, move on.
I think Chris wanted that as well.
I have to be able to answer that one. That's such a good question, and I had plenty of time to think about it, so it'll be quick. For Westwood, I was going to say the Untamed library, but once the randomizer function of the Lost series started being talked about, I realized how often I use that. Like I'm literally in the middle of a film right now, and I've used it 3 or 4 times over the past 2 days. I'm just like, I need something. I don't know what I want it to sound like. I just keep hitting it, and then something happens, and I'm like, oh, that's it. So Lost Piano for Westwood, and then overall library, I'm going to say my Desert Island one would be Cycles by Slate and Ash. That is such a powerful instrument, particularly with being able to drag your own stuff, and it's just yeah, that's my desert island one.
That was one of those libraries that came out and everybody was like, I didn't realize contact libraries could be like this. It was
Yes.
absolutely amazing. So
Those guys are wizards.
nice. What have you been up to? So what, like this year, what's been your thing? Where have you been? What have you been up to?
Well, currently, funny enough, I'm like off of social media because I've got a crazy deadline I'm trying to hit. I have that stress going on right now that I'm not going to make it. So I've been off, I've been off everything for the past month or so. But I've been, doing a lot of writing in general. Doing writing with my band. We went and did a writing retreat in the mountains about a month and a half ago. Worked on a couple films this year. I've got one that I'm about to finish, and then another one that I should be done with hopefully by the end of the year. I just had one come out called Night of the Missing that I'm super stoked on. And then the one that I'm working on now, it's the next film by the same director, and it's next level. I'm super, super stoked on it. But yeah, just lots of writing. It's been an entire year of writing.
How did you get from like Underoath to film composing? Because I take it Underoath came first and then you kind of progressed into film scoring, or has film scoring always kind of been there and then the band took over and then you kind of came back to it? Or how's the movement been?
Yeah, so the band definitely came first, as I started playing in my band when I was 16. But I've always been a film nerd, big into film music. And the short story is I have a wise wife who told me I needed to stop talking about scoring films one day and just start putting one foot in front of the other and figuring out how to do it. And that was about 6 years ago, 5-6 years ago. And I just dove head first in, and it's been a snowball. It's been crazy, but I'm just ridiculously thankful for it.
How did you get your first kind of like contacts into like, did you know film directors? And you have like a lot of people just have friends that are film directors and they go, oh, you're good at music. You just write this score for me. Like, how did that work?
Yeah, so I didn't feel comfortable coming right out and saying that I was a film composer because I've been a career musician my whole life, but I'd never scored a film. So I put a thing up on social media saying that I was opening up my studio for writing projects. And if anybody had an album or a video game or a film or anything they wanted me to write on, to get in touch with me. And that was only hoping that somebody would reach out and say, hey, I have a short film or I have a feature or whatever. And that's what happened. I had a friend that lived in LA at the time that was directing a short, and he was like, hey, I've got no money, but I've got this really cool short. Do you want to score it? And I was like, absolutely. And from that point on, it's just been a snowball of like, oh, the DP that worked on this thing is now working on this thing, and they're looking for a composer. I mean, that it's the thing you hear about a million times, and it's just been a lot of that, which is crazy. Like I was hoping to, at some point be able to score one feature film, and I think I'm on my 6th or 7th. So it's been a ride for sure.
What's your process like working with directors? Are you kind of like, do they give you all like scripts straight off the bat, or are you coming in at like picture lock stage, or is it different for every film? What's it like?
Yes, all of the above. I prefer to come in earlier, like on the script phase. That way I can be, ruminating on stuff and, be able to send ideas and be able to bounce back and forth. There's a couple of films I've done where I've basically been brought on, when the edit is almost completely locked and I jump right in. I'm just trying to learn to do it as many ways as directors have ways to do them. That way nobody throws me a curveball at any point. But yeah, I prefer to be involved earlier than later, but I think that's a pretty common sentiment.
And we talked to Fernanda earlier about like people giving you ideas already and kind of like, temp scores and stuff. Are you in that stage where people are just going, oh, write me the music that sounds exactly like this, but not so much that it's plagiarized? Or are you kind of like given just dialogue and effects and that's it? Are you or again, is it all sorts of different stuff?
No, thankfully, most of the directors I've worked with are very, they're not married to temp, which is great. But what's good is there's been a couple cues and a couple films where the director is married to a specific cue. So, he will say, hey, everything else is working great, but this one, I want it to hit these same beats. I want it to kind of feel the same. And what's funny is those cues that I've written, they start off as me saying, okay, I need to write my version of this, but it only starts out like that. By the time I get to the end, it's morphed into like another thing. And every time that's happened, I've presented it to the director and they're like, oh, like, yeah, like that marries what the temp was with what the film is. So, I don't necessarily hate that. Like, I don't hate the idea of, writing to a guide. Sometimes that takes the guesswork out of it, of trying to figure out what it's going to sound like. But overall, I've gotten pretty free reign to do what I want, within certain boundaries, obviously. So I'm super thankful for that.
And are you spotting with the director, or are you just spotting on your own and kind of like making a first temp score that's your own? How does that process work for you?
No, I spot with the director always before I write anything, usually. Like before I write entire cues. I like to send instrumentations and sounds and whatnot, but I like to get a good spotting session done. That way I know I'm not spinning my wheels, moving in a direction that's just not going to end up being it. So I like to spot as early as possible.
Nice. Adrian, have we got any questions for the team? Somebody said, Chris, never stop talking about scoring. That's your fabulous strong suit. So
it's one of my favorite things. So yeah, why the hell not, right?
Throw this same question at Lex. Like, obviously working to temp. Chris, you do that. Obviously, all of us work to temp, but Lex, how do you deal with that for your trailers?
So I'd say it's kind of 50-50, because obviously a lot of the things that we do, and especially when you start out doing trailers, you're actually just making catalog music. It's no real different to production music or whatever. Like, a lot of the way into trailer music is through production libraries. Then when you get customs come in, which is what I predominantly do now, I would say 50-60% of them end up with some kind of temp. And whether or not you get the footage or not is dependent on the size of the project and how much they're allowed to send you, or how much they trust you or whatever. But from a temp point of view, we often get sent references much more than temps now. The references will be a previous trailer, or a current trailer that's out at the moment that's in the same vein, and quite often that's the large part of a brief now, rather than a temp. I think the temp has become something that has become a little bit of a problem, because when you're doing a 2-minute piece of music for a film trailer, it can be something that an editor or a director or a producer, whoever, gets just so obsessed on that if you're not recreating it like too close, then they don't like it. So predominantly my whole year this year, no matter what size of project, has been done with references, not temps. And I think, as far as I've seen personally, they've been trying to move away from here's the temp, go make it, but do it yourself. So it's again, I'm speaking from my own perspective. Maybe I've been lucky on that front. Maybe people watching might have been sent temp after temp after temp after temp. But from my point of view, like, the references are always better than a temp.
And when are you coming into a project? I take it with trailers, they're kind of like one of the last things that a production house is thinking about. Are you just getting thrown a trailer and we're going live on YouTube on this in a week, or is it?
Yeah,
like...
I mean, as the saying goes, shit rolls downhill. We are always last in the chain. I think the irony is that you're normally given on a custom 24, maybe 48 hours to do the whole piece. But it then comes 6 or 7 before the thing appears. So it's just that marketing is always going to be the last part of the chain. There's no way around it when you do trailers, unless, of course, you do nothing but catalog material that then might get licensed into the trailer. But the world that I live in is predominantly customs, and they are very, very, very last minute, kind of, we need this now. I've literally just been emailed my one before we started, and it was like a blessing. I've got till Monday, and so that was like, oh, thank God.
Till Monday, like 5 days to do something, including the weekend. That's nuts.
Well,
Like,
apart from the fact that I'm DJing the weekend, so that's just a no now. So.
And John,
like,
throw this to John.
go for it. Go on.
John, about temp music with you. I think you mentioned it once or twice in one of your YouTube videos, I believe, if I'm not wrong. I might be wrong. How do you work with them?
Well, I don't do a ton of writing for picture. Most of the stuff that I'm doing is for library type situations. So I don't run across, I'm trying to think what I might have mentioned regarding temp music. No, I don't, I listen to, I get reference tracks all the time, and we have to come up with themes kind of based around those reference tracks and trying to write music that, try to break down what it is that makes that particular sound work and see if there's ways that we can recreate it without ripping it off, trying to different instrumentation. But no, I don't spend a lot of time in the temp world, thankfully. Sounds miserable.
With the trailer stuff, Lex, how much is the director involved compared to just a producer, like exec producer, just coming in and going, just make this sound good because we need to sell tickets in theaters? Like,
very, very rarely, I think very rarely the director is involved from the off, because there's 1, 2, 3 main trailers often for a blockbuster, and then 100 TV spots, whatever it might be. But predominantly, I think there are occasions where the score is involved. A composer that I know, Mark Petrie, did the first Dune film, and that was involving elements of the score by Hans Zimmer. So as far as I'm aware, that was all a very much collaborative from the start thing. But normally speaking, it's myself, my client, and then the studio, and then the trailer house, and then the studio. It very much goes through focus groups and then the director. And I've had personal projects that have had to be approved by the lead in the film, Leonardo DiCaprio, Will Smith, and quite often that happens. The director, of course, is involved in that, but it's the very last thing in the chain. I don't think they are shown that from the off. It's much more, the pyramid gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and then it kind of goes up again once you've got past the trailer house, the library, the company, the producers, the editors, and then from there you get to the point where the studio is really involved. And I've had things that have been thrown back to me at the 11th hour because somebody very, very, very high said, "I love this, but I don't love this." And it's one of those things where that's where you might get a director involved. But predominantly speaking, I think that it's a bit of a rarity for the majority of people like myself.
How do you take that feedback when you're getting an email at like 3 a.m. from a production house and they just need that turnaround in minutes, hours, or whatever? Like, how do you
right now
keep sanity? Yeah.
I'm lucky enough right now that I don't look at my phone or my email, and nothing has a volume thing in the middle of the night. I get up very early. I do get up very early in the morning. I get up at like 5 a.m. so that I can see if anything is like an emergency. But no, everything goes on silent at like 11 o'clock at night and does not make a noise until then. But that's something that I made a decision on very early, to just not do that for, my sanity, if nothing else.
What's been like the best project? Go on, Henry. Go.
No, I was just going to say, would it be in an ideal world, in an ideal project, would you work with the composer or composers from the film?
Well, I mean, yes. So ironically, I think because Stuart's on later, I did one of the trailers for Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, actually, and so I got sent a lot of elements from the score for that to work with, and it's that we had the live string recordings and the big dun 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 drums, so that's always going to be more fun. And I've just done hang on, now I'm going to be careful, I can't say what it is. I've just done a trailer that involved one of the pieces of music from the film, so it's a famous 90s rave classic, I can say that much. but the characters in the film hum it through the whole of the film. The lead character sings it to themselves, and so on and so on. So I ended up getting sent the original stems from that. So there are elements like that I work with a lot. But yeah, I mean, when we get sent score, it's kind of, it's definitely like a privilege, if you like. I feel very honored when you get sent something directly from the score to work with, and it definitely is more fun. You get more empowered, like you feel much more passionate about it when you've been blessed with the actual elements from the score in front of you.
Nice. Adrian, we've just got one more giveaway to do before the question, so can you get that lined up
Yeah, of course.
in the next couple of minutes?
Yeah.
Let's introduce Stuart Michael Thomas into the chat, because you've been sat there patiently waiting. Like, how does this all sound to you? Like, is this familiar ground? Is this kind of like you're on the earlier part of the stage along with Chris, kind of like composing the scores and working with other film scorists? Like, is this chat like welcome news to you that, oh yes, this is familiar?
Everybody feels the same amount of pain. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah.
Yes, in one way or the other, everyone feels the pain. Yeah. You know, certainly temp love is a big issue. We run into that a lot. You know, not maybe not a lot, but you know, enough that it depends on the film, depends on the director, depends on the editor, depends on the project. I've seen, you know, directors where I've been involved in multiple projects in a row, and some of them they're like married to temp, some of them they couldn't care less. But yeah, it's an oft repeated story, you know, having to deal with that kind of stuff.
I mean, how do you deal with the temp thing? Because I mean, I'm nowhere near, like, I am the lowest rung in terms of all of the composers on board here. I am lower than every single screen that I've got sat around me right now. And when I've been dealt temp, I've gone, fuck, that's so good. I don't know how to create my own version of that without just ripping it off completely. Like, what's your process when you get a piece of temp and you're like, right, I love it and it's perfect and it's the right mood and it's the right emotion, but now I need to do my thing?
Well, similar to like what Chris was saying, like you can start out and it'll sound, you know, especially if you're markering stuff in and you're hitting, I gotta hit this beat and this cut, or this thing turns. Let's say we gotta hit a certain chord at a certain point, or even if sometimes it's just starting in the same key as the temp, which is sometimes a bummer to get that close, but it always deviates after you work on it for a while. You know, your own voice starts to come through it, and then it goes through all the change processes anyway. And then of course there's picture cuts, and all those things contribute to it not being necessarily, you know, an 8 at the end.
This is a question for sort of everybody, but has there been a point where they've asked you to get so close to something that exists that you're like, this is too dangerous? Yeah, Lex has got his hands up. What's that like when you're just like, I can't do this?
There was a job this year actually, and again I'll be careful. It was for a Bollywood film, and it was the first thing that I'd ever worked on for Bollywood. And the guy sent a reference and was like, "This is what we want. Can you go and do you, but like this?" And I remember delivering a V1 that I was just like, "That's dope. Like that's as close as I can get, but it's me and it sounds cool and it's going to work in a trailer." And the changes all came back, and they came back, and it was like V1, V2, V3, V4, V5, V6. And eventually he just literally said out loud, "It doesn't sound like the original." And as Stuart just said, I'd started in the same key. I was using the same tempo. It was a 4 to the floor kind of thing as well. And that buys you almost no room either. So it was very electronic, very dance music based. So you don't have a lot of subtlety involved. And genuinely, we got to the point, myself and the client, we just had to step away. We said, "I'm sorry, we just can't do that because what you're asking for is copyright infringement." And we couldn't do it. We had to step away, and it was a real shame because it was our first foray into Bollywood, and we just literally couldn't do it. There was no way we could get as close as they wanted to license that track from us. It was just too close.
I think everybody remembers their first time when they've had to say no to a client, or like no to the point where I have to stop working with you now because what you're asking for is not possible, not legal, whatever reason. And I think that's the point in my career when I first did that, when I was like, oh, I feel quite powerful now because I've said no to a client, and I'm always the person that says yes. So it's quite a turning point, I think, for a lot of people when they say no to a client and are confident behind it. Chris, have you had to say no to a client before, or have you always just had the free reign to do whatever you want?
Well, thankfully, when it comes to the temp stuff, I have not yet run into a situation where at least a V2 or V3 of my version of what they wanted from the temp was not good. They thankfully they've been all good with those. What I have more had the experience of having to say no to is in regards to like scheduling, what Lex was talking about, where it's like, hey, like I go to bed at 11 o'clock, I wake up at 5, and that's just what I do. That took, again, a very wise wife telling me like, hey, you need to implement office hours, because if you don't have office hours, one, you're just going to work 20 hours a day every day. And also, we don't know when you're going to be around. So a lot of it, came back to family time. So that was my biggest thing, needing to say, hey, it's 9:30, 10 o'clock. I know I just got an email from the director, but it's outside of office hours, and feeling okay with saying, hey, I got your email. I'll hit you back first thing in the morning. And I found one, because I think, Rob, you were saying, I always say yes to people. Like, I think I'm generally the same way. Like, I like to be able to say, yes, I'll get this done. Yes, I can do this. And I don't like saying no. But I found that when I started saying no with my calendar, it was empowering, one. And also there wasn't this like big pushback that I had built up in my head. I was like, oh, like they're not going to want to work with me. They're going to go find somebody else or whatever. But what I actually found is everybody was, for the most part, really respectful and receptive. And I think that once they find out that, oh, like that, this guy has his own schedule, we have to go around that. It's just a given, and there's not a big deal there. So, yeah.
I think when you first start working with people, you have to like ask them in part how you want to be treated with. So if you suddenly start answering your emails at 3 a.m, they will expect you to respond the next time they send an email at 3 a.m. Whereas if you just go, no, I am only answering work emails between 8 and 4 or whatever time zone you're on, then suddenly you will earn respect and go, oh no, this guy, like he has a family, or she has a family, she has a life, and you've got to respect that kind of thing. So, Adrian, do you want to run this giveaway and then or have you got a question from the audience or from yourself?
To keep on track, we probably should do the penultimate giveaway.
We're running a little bit behind, so let's do that penultimate giveaway and then questions from the audience.
Do that.
So what is this for? This is for the entire Untamed collection, right?
No, we've already done that. Where were you?
Oh,
yeah.
was I on a comfort break?
This is for Origin. This is for Novella.
Oh, okay, great. Go
right,
for it.
Do this. So here we go. I want us all to do a little drum roll. As cheesy as that sounds, I feel very embarrassed just clicking this wheel in silence. So let's do a drum roll.
Everybody boot up Contact now and find a drum library.
Here we go. And the winner is, I'm going to throw this to Stuart. Stuart, you can announce this.
Okay. Aaron Moon.
Aaron Moon.
It's an easy name to pronounce.
I know.
Aaron, good job.
John had an easy one as well. I mean, I've been thrown some curveballs this evening. So stop sharing. Well done. There we go.
Cool. Have we got any questions from the chat or any questions between each other?
There was a great question for us all, which we can all say answers to, and it's nice and short. What is everybody's favorite film or film soundtrack? I'm happy with it.
That's not nice and short. That's going to take for it. No, go for it.
Okay, well, I'll start then. My favorite film is Drive. I love that film. Soundtrack's also brilliant. So yeah, nice and short and sweet. That's mine. Who's going next? Let's go for Stuart. What's your favorite film?
I'd say The Fugitive, simply because it was the score that like got me interested. It made me understand film music in a way that I hadn't before, because prior to that it was all the John Williams stuff, and then in the 80s it was a lot of just like, you know, dance music, that whole period when it was all electronic drums. But when The Fugitive came, it was like, it kind of was like, ah, wait, this was all the stuff put together. You know, you had jazz saxophone, you had orchestra and big brass, and you had electronic drums, and there's a lot of exciting stuff in that score. So I'd say that one.
John?
I love the movie Hoosiers. Not really a musical tie-in. I just, very nostalgic. Whenever it's on, I'll watch it.
Very nice. Chris?
Today I would say favorite film would be The Shining. You know, probably it was probably the first horror movie I ever saw. Affected me in a way at a young age. And as far as score goes, I think I'm going to have to kind of mirror, you know, what was said earlier of like, you know, for me, the score that I heard that made me say like, oh, I definitely want to do that was John Murphy's score for Sunshine. I went and saw that, and, you know, I'd been such a film nerd up until that point, but that was the one where I was like, oh, like, I think I might be able to do this. So yeah, so today that score would be it.
I'd say Sunshine's a perfect one for Chris because of the amount of lens flare on his webcam.
All right, so here's the thing. There's like a 30-minute point every day where the sun comes perfectly through that window right up there, and we're right in that. Normally I'm all good, but yeah.
It's less like The Shining and more like The Omen when Damien's got like the
I
kind
should
of
just
like
put my head up there. Yeah. Just
There you go.
yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
It's artistic. It's artistic. It's all good.
Yeah.
Adrian, who are you going to next?
Yeah, I'm trying to head to Fernanda, if you can hear me.
Yes, my favorite movie would be Interstellar. It's just because I love everything that has to do with space. Kind of, I don't know, if I was better at math, I would probably have studied physics or something like that, and I don't know, try to work at NASA. And so when I watched that film, it just blew my mind. I couldn't even sleep properly, and the soundtrack I absolutely love as well. So yeah, it has to be Interstellar.
Films I watch, and then I come home and just sit in the dark and think about it, and then I'm going to go watch that again, and I normally
And you also, I think you have to watch it again to understand it, you know?
Yeah, hey, I didn't say my soundtrack. I should have, and it's cliched, but when Luke stared at the planets in Star Wars, that's all I really needed to want to do it.
I've got a question for everybody in a minute. Based on that, I'll come back to it.
Yeah, let's head to Lex.
I mean, as a trailer composer, I should probably say something by Hans Zimmer because he invented the Brahm, and that's how I've got work.
That is your lifeblood. Is bouges, Brahms, whooshes, hits.
The finger is really worn out. It's really really worn. I think weirdly it came up in conversation this week actually, and film and soundtrack, and it's not the greatest film. It's probably a bad film, but in the 90s when the film The Crow came out, I remember being, as somebody whose only musical skill predominantly is playing the guitar, I remember being really influenced by the soundtrack to that because it was basically just grunge. It was Nine Inch Nails and it was Stone Temple Pilots. It was just a really heavy soundtrack, and I was completely blown away by the fact that the music that I loved at the time was the score to this film. And the way that the darkness of the film married the darkness of the soundtrack just stuck in my mind kind of forever. And again, it's not the greatest film, but whenever I watch it, I have that nostalgic feeling. And of course, there was all of the hype around the film itself because of Brandon Lee and so on. So I think, again, I could probably pick better films that I could go for Star Wars, or things that actually I watch more often. But that definitely was a pivotal kind of film and score moment for me.
Nice. Henry, what's yours?
We're going to actually just to pick up on that. Have you seen the Nicolas Cage film with him, like the heavy metal soundtrack with him fighting the acid biker gangs?
Mandy.
That's an incredible
that
film.
sounds great. I've never seen that. That sounds great.
Oh, I haven't.
Oh, that's
amazing.
Johan Johansson's last score he ever did.
Is it? Well, that's got a great score.
I'm pretty certain. Yeah.
That's great. So that's not my favorite film, but that just popped in. I don't think I'm going to be boring. I haven't got a favorite film. But do you know, when you said soundtrack, the first thing that popped into my head was actually Lost in Translation.
Nice.
Yeah.
Just because, yeah, I mean, it's more of just, it's kind of songs, isn't it? So, my Bloody Valentine songs and what are they called? French Air. That's what they're called.
Yeah, great band.
But you know, I love all of the classic soundtracks, and in fact, the film that I remember watching that made me want to write music was actually Gladiator.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So I'm not sure if I would put that score in the kind of the upper echelons of all film soundtracks, but that's a memory of me being, you know, young. And
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, I was going to throw the question out, Rob. I don't know if you're still there.
I'm still here. My battery for my really expensive web camera's just died. Hang on.
I'm enjoying your
Classic.
headshot, though. I'm enjoying the headshot. I feel privileged.
Pensive, but he means business.
Yeah.
Is that
You know when
Tom?
Lex,
when
I
you
was
have
gonna
to go
say
and get
you
your picture taken because you kind of need promo shots, and then you kind of get nervous in the photography studio. That's what came out of
That
that.
nice negative fill on the shadow side.
Yeah. Hang on, web camera. You might get me live in a minute, not me 3 years ago, wondering about my future self.
Hey, Lex, I wanted to say for that Brahm thing, also a shout out to Mel Wesson, who was part of making that sound.
Yes, sir. Yes. Absolutely.
He told me part of that was like he had processed the brass sounds and then blasted them out through a speaker system back into Air Studios and re-recorded that.
Yeah.
You heard that? It's crazy, huh?
Yeah. No, that's
Way to do it.
weirdly, I'd heard that, and I've now done that myself. I've done that in here. I've done literally the re-recording of Brahms to get the stereo weirdness and kind of change the mic positions and so on. And it works. I mean, like, as soon as I heard that story, I was like, well, I've got to try that then, because we all need the new Brahms. So
yep, it's wild. And Rob's back.
I'm back. Can you hear me still?
Yeah. What you said you had a question in regards to the soundtrack or film thing.
Oh, this is good because I get to dodge my favorite film and soundtrack question. So favorite soundtrack, I like Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Anything they do is like on my hit list. I watch their films because the soundtrack over and above David Fincher used to be my favorite director, and then it's almost turned to like, oh, what are they doing, what are they working on, and I'll watch the film because of those two guys. Or the documentary, the Netflix documentary on Dr. Dre and the Apple Beats, like that score's incredible. Favorite film, I'm gonna head back to Brandon Lee territory and probably go Enter the Dragon. I remember a time when I was 18, like 1997-ish, and I was in my brother's university like gigs. And I remember sitting in a room completely painted in gloss blue paint after having, how shall I say this, taken too much product and watching Enter the Dragon for the first time, and then just being like, what the is this? Like, so it's like, it's more of a memory than it's the best film ever, but it's also a great film, a great soundtrack as well. So anyway, my question was like, going back to John Williams, like the idea of a theme, like as in do 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 do, that kind of theme seems to have slightly been lost, and it is more now textures, mood, vibe, that kind of thing. Apart from things like Mission Impossible, which, you know, obviously have to carry that theme, you know, back from the 70s. Do you see it going back to that kind of, like, you are writing themes and motifs and that kind of thing?
I mean, I guess I'll just speak to where I enjoy being in that space anyway. Like I remember when I saw Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse in the theater for the first time, and they had that sound for the Prowler. It was just that synth growl that came in. It wasn't a you know, musical motif, but it was like a sound that just came every time that guy showed up. And I remember in the theater thinking, like, that is, to me anyway, that is like where that should go. You know, like I love having a musical motif. I love having a musical theme for different characters. And, you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I like to try to focus on, okay, what does this character sound like? You know, what exactly is going on sound design wise, instrument wise, when this character is on screen. And to me, that's as compelling as, you know, writing a musical theme for a character for me.
Anybody else want to dive in? I think that's a good observation, is that, like, the way the character feels. I mean, like, you know, with motifs, like, you know, John Williams motifs, you are getting that kind of, like, you know, he's going to the minor third because he's a dark character, or he's going to the major third because he's a happy character, and that's really those base kind of emotions. But then putting those emotions more into sounds seems like, I can't put John Williams down, but it seems like the next step to getting to those emotions is you're feeling it more than hearing it. Is that intelligent? I don't know.
But John Williams would have been, you know, writing entirely, you know, acoustically, right? So I suppose he's writing for the orchestra. And
he's not writing with sound, is he? He's writing on, yeah.
So that's the difference, isn't it? In the 70s, I guess people were writing electronic film scores. I don't know enough about it, but that would be either like quite sort of what's the film about the Olympics? Dun, 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 dun.
Vangelis.
Yeah, Vangelis, right. So
yeah.
That kind of thing. But a lot of the Hollywood stuff is still going to be, you know, for orchestra, isn't it? And
depends. You know, I mean, we have a wide range of films that get made, you know, and so therefore there's a wide range of scores and a lot of techniques. You know, there's a lot of people coming up that are still very classically trained, and they're going to think more thematically in motif or even longer themes. Other people, I tend to think more in little modular gestural things. But, you know, that sort of sonic landscape thing, which I've seen people on forums just absolutely, you know, take a dump on. It has its place, and it works, you know, like Chris was saying about the Spider-Man thing, you know, or think about the Batman, you know, from the Dark Knight, and the Joker sound was just that, you know, ascending scratchy line. But I mean, come on, it's like, you know, would you call the choirs in 2001 to be thematic? You know what I mean? It's not a theme, can't hum it except for going, you know what I mean? It's like that's
right.
So that's not a thematic thing necessarily. It's almost a textural thing. And if you get to like the Wendy Carlos stuff, there's stuff that's thematic, there's stuff that's going to be more sound effecty, you know, and that world, you know, whether it's experimental or whether it's musique concrète or whether it's whatever, or it's, you know, it all has its place, and it's just, you know, I think we should be allowed to kind of pick and choose how, and every composer, even in their own career, I think should be able to do any of those things. Sometimes do thematic, sometimes do sonics. Anyway.
I think it's fully evolving right now as well. If you think about scores for things like Chernobyl, that series, and the score for The Mandalorian, like, even though The Mandalorian has like an insanely strong theme that does run throughout, both of those things, they have a very sound design heavy like bass, and so does what was the one I was thinking of just now? I'm drawing a blank, sorry. But it's something that I've noticed there has Charlie Clouser for the things like the Saw films and so on, and he's been doing them for like all of the films. So there is not only just a sound design heavy bass, there's he is the theme that runs through all of those things, like John Williams may have done back in the day orchestrally with Star Wars. So as someone who writes 2-minute pieces of music to try and sell something, actually one of the things that we get told the most is to sum up the feeling of the film, of the thing they want to get across in that first thing that anyone ever sees. And quite often it is as much sound design based as it is musical theme, because generally speaking, I know we spoke about the score earlier on, but actually one of the things they tend to not give away so early in trailer land is the score, because that's something that they want people to experience in the cinema with the full fucking rigs and everything and really going to town. So quite often we're tasked with getting that point, that theme across without giving away the musical theme that might be running through the films. And I would say definitely I've noticed like a real tilt towards the sound design side rather than a 4-note chord sequence.
How much of your stuff, like I guess this is more for Lex, Chris and Stuart, how much of your stuff is sound design compared to purely music, or is there no line anymore? Is it just kind of like just make the sound that isn't the dialogue and the on-screen sound effects?
Well, I mean, it depends. It depends on the score. Like certain scores, like Mission Impossible, was a much more of a traditional approach, even more so than past scores. And I wasn't on those past ones, but even the approach, even on this one, was even more traditional in terms of instrumentation than it was in the past. Less electronics. Some scores are very much like just textural. I worked on Luther for Lorne, and that one had a lot of textural kind of stuff. There's themes, but they're small and they're gestural, and and there's sections that are longer, but there's other stuff where it's again, going back to what Chris said, it's just a sound,
No,
Yeah, I think.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, it's just but I do think there is if going back to the Mandalorian score, the way that he uses the recorders, I don't think it's necessarily like either or. Like you can use instruments in a way that kind of, which is the clever thing about that score, is that you hear those recorders, and yes, they're playing a rhythm and notes, and there's harmony, but there's a timbrel element there which makes you think, right, this is the Mandalorian.
Well,
there's a kind of a Western. You couldn't, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the thing. They're married. It's like even if it's a melody line, it has to be played on that instrument for it to speak. So I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. That's.
Adrian, I think we should do the last giveaway and then maybe just take one or two. I'm aware we're a little bit running over, and people have probably got trailers and movies to score and
that's fine.
sample libraries to develop and all those kind of things. So let's do the last question. Because there's going to be one that everybody needs to write down in the chat, and then we'll take maybe another couple of questions, and then I think we need to wrap it up. Go for it.
This is for everyone in the chat. Thanks for sticking around with us for the last 2 hours. And obviously everyone on here as well. We'll keep this going, and then when you want to leave, that is absolutely fine. So this is the final question, and it's for everyone in the chat. I'm wondering if I say it quick enough, then it doesn't give people enough time to think about it. What is the studio that Westwood Instrument use, and what road is it on?
Oh,
there we go. Oh, I'm glad.
Adrian, you look out for the answer.
I will. We can carry on.
We can carry on. Are there any other questions for people in either in amongst the chat or in amongst guests?
You said you had a question for me right at the very start that you were holding off for, and I can't remember what it was now.
Oh yeah, it was how do you go with the process of editing trailers, like music for trailers and things like that? What do you have you've got a template, I imagine? How does it go for you?
Yes, so I guess there's two parts to that, because obviously part of it's the musical editing and sometimes it's the editing to picture. I have several templates depending on the genre of film that I'm working on. But from the point of view of editing, one of the things that especially the last 2 years has become much more apparent is that it's very, very, very rare, unless you're working on something insanely epic like the Dune trailer that dropped yesterday, or or the last three of them, where it's one piece of music from the start to the finish. One of the things that has become incredibly important is edit points. All editors, even if you're not working to picture and only vaguely doing it to brief, one of the things that we work with all the time is our 3-act structure, which literally will be your small intro, your bigger middle, and your larger end. But even inside those, we need to put stop downs where there'll be dialogue, where there'll be pauses, where there'll be a dramatic moment, whatever it may be. So when we have a rough cut, then obviously that's great, because you get to see the arc of the trailer and the arc of the way that the thing builds from small to big. But generally speaking, I would say that the actual editing of a trailer is the step above me. The music that I would always submit is cut up a lot by the person above me in the chain. And actually, some of the editors that are working in trailers now are so talented that I struggle sometimes to work out what it is they've done with my stems. When I
find the best editors are musical.
Yeah.
The best editors
completely.
feel like musicians.
Yeah, and some of them have their own music companies. They have their own like library companies. They have their own thing. So, 100%. When my very, very first theatrical trailer was Men in Black 3 in like 2012, I think, and that was a much more traditional start to finish. We did the music, apart from a split-second thing in the middle that was Jimi Hendrix, which I can't claim. But that was just our music from start to finish, and there were very few edit points. The music just ran as a bed underneath, and everything worked over the top of it. Whereas these days, the music works to serve a purpose. Like I have to understand that I am in a game where it's music for advertising. We are advertising the film, and you have to leave the spaces for dialogue, plot of the trailer, and so on. So the edit points are incredibly important. But when I first started, the answer to the original question is like, I have no idea how you edit for a trailer apart from just doing lots of trailers. And every time you get a brief, you have to edit it differently. You have to put in different stop points. The brief might even tell you what time they need stop points. But from the fact of how again, just doing it a lot.
Nice. I think we've probably got time for one more question, Adrian, and then we'll announce the winner of that question that you just answered. Is there any questions that anybody else has got, either on chat or in this group?
I've got a question just to satisfy my curiosity. What's everyone working on as far as the DAW goes?
Oh, okay.
Cubase.
Bass.
Just Logic.
Logic.
Pro Tools.
All of them. Your Pro Tools, John. You
25 years. I can't. I don't know.
Nobody works in Pro Tools anymore, except recording studios who are so scared to switch their 2009 trash can Mac Pro for fear of it breaking.
Well,
Pro Tools.
And me.
And you
I have to have Pro Tools here too. I mean, it's it is the standard.
It's the industry standard.
It's great, and it does work great. I mean, when it comes to working with audio, it is amazing.
I started out working with audio. They added MIDI right when I started getting into MIDI. They made it a little better right as I started getting a little better.
And then they stopped.
Enough for me. But yes, and Reaper too, because I'm a sample library developer. You got to spent a lot of time in Reaper.
I would say Reaper's like, if you've got a Mac, then it's just got to be, if you're starting out, it's kind of just got to be Logic, because bang for the buck, it's absolutely incredible what you get included, what you can do with it. But if you're like outside of the Mac world, then Reaper is the best. What it can do anything better than all of them. But there is a massive steep learning curve with Reaper, I think. What a geeky question to sort of like,
hey, that's what I do.
Having at the end. Adrian, have we got a winner? Is there somebody that you...
We do have a winner. We were looking for Nave Britannia Street, and the person who came up with both of those at the same time was Adam Black. So congratulations, Adam. You've won everything that we've made. So
well done, Adam. We'll be in touch. All the winners that have won something on this giveaway, on this live stream, will be in touch via email, probably tomorrow morning GMT now, because it's late over here. So give us a chance. But Adam Black, well done, mate. We'll get you everything as soon as we possibly can. Is there any last things that people want to say that they want to pimp? John, you've got a load of stuff that you want to pimp, I'm sure. We'll put, if anybody wants to email me like links and stuff to projects and websites, we'll put everybody's kind of, ats and websites in the YouTube description tomorrow once this goes on YouTube. But has anybody got any last words of wisdom, anything they want to say, or do you all just want to go home and work on, what you're working on?
Well, I want to say to Jonathan, I love your channel, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
I watch your stuff, man. It's good. I like it.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's neat. Thank you.
And I'm having a great time, guys, with Origin. It's literally on screen right now. I can't tell you what I'm working on, but like it's on screen right now. I'm finishing this like end piece, and it's got some of that in there. So
agree. As Rob knows, I bought it twice.
I know. Yeah. You didn't have to buy it once. You could have just emailed me, and I would have like helped you out. But yeah, I appreciate it. And I don't pay anybody to say that. So yeah, Stuart, I appreciate it, because when Stuart bought it, and I don't really check sales every now and again, but every now and again I just kind of see, where are sales coming from, which countries. And then I saw your name pop up and I was like, no, it's not you, is it? And then I emailed you and I was like, that's incredible. And then you kind of told me what you were working on, which I can't tell you about, but I was like, this is incredible that something I've been working on for so long is all of a sudden getting used in something that's really special. So
it went straight in. It's such a fantastic library, man. I'm having a blast with it. Actually, I'm also using the drums on something too that I want to show you too. It's like on something I'm working on with a pal of mine, some production music stuff, but like those mallet drums have been coming in really handy too. So yeah, it's
very cool.
So, and thank you for having me on this thing today too.
Hey, no worries. Right.
Same.
I think, Adrian, should we wrap it up? Has anybody got any last thing they want to get off their chests before they dive into Christmas? Any kind of like, mental troubles that they want to share?
Plenty, but I mean, it's the wrong forum. Right?
We'll go private after
I don't like
this.
Brussels sprouts.
Yeah.
I will never like Brussels sprouts. Just nobody can make me do it.
Glad. Aren't all YouTube live streams like this where he just ends on absolute chaos, people talking about mental health and Brussels sprouts? And then, yeah, great. Right. Thank you very much, everybody. I really appreciate you all being here. I hope people that are watching this have got something out of this, because the talent I managed to sort of corral into being on this live stream is amazing. And I can't believe you all said yes. So yeah, thank you very much. Hopefully we'll do another one again next year. So thank you all much for being on.
I'd like to say
Thanks,
guys. Come on and
Thanks. Great to meet you all.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't know how we end these things. What do we do?
I don't know.
I've made you host now, Rob. You're now power person.
I'm still here.
John, what do I do? Just press end stream. I've got a big red button over here. I'm going to do it. Have a good Christmas, everyone.
Good
See you
you.
soon. Bye. Bye.
Oh, I'm still in.
Right. You still there?